Welcome to Curious with Josh Peck. Start the show.
Okay, here we go. Number 3. I can't believe it. I mean, God, we've come so far. Hopefully by now, this is the 3rd episode. I imagine, the podcast has caught fire by now, and it's on the cover of every, syndicate and internet website, and they're like, the phenomenon that is Josh Peck's, auditory skills. Can you believe this? Wow. Redefine the medium. The next Howard Stern. But in reality, this is probably slowly picking up steam, if that. We're probably celebrating the small wins, a couple thousand streams, and, we'll cite some other references of big podcasts that started small and, chugged along and then had a moment where it sort of turned for the better 6 to 18 months down the road. Who knows? I'm not going to speculate. But anyway, thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening. Christina Milian, she played my baby mama on a show called Grandfathered, which we were on together for a year. I knew of her before the show, and I was a fan, but I didn't know much about her. I knew she was super talented. I knew that she had dated Nick Cannon for a minute, and I just love her. She is a love. She's easy to love. She's sweet and lovely and smart and talented, and she was nice enough to record this with me in my buddy's back house. No weirdness there. I know there's like some inherent weirdness because you think buddy's back house, what, why? But I just tried to find a neutral meeting ground that was near where she lives, and to make it easier for her. Actors, people in the business, they don't really want to have to go far when they're doing someone a favor. So my buddy happened to live around the corner from her, and we met there. She couldn't be cooler. I don't think this is breaking any news, but she has an affinity for wrapping her cars in very specific, like, car wraps, like hot pink Mercedes car wrap, which, we all make decisions. But that's the kind of person she is. She's happy. She's not worried about what you think. And I think she's quite dope, and I think the world does too. So here's Christina Milian blessing me with an hour. Thanks, Christina. Boom, boom, boom. Check, 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 check. If you're going to sing into the mic, why don't you? I'm very official here. I don't know if you know.
I see. Very, very.
If you,
I'm the orange wire.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about
I like
this.
the Nets right now.
Yeah.
Aren't they that color?
Probably. I don't know much about
New
sports.
Jersey Nets are.
I'm just a theater geek, Christina. You know that.
iPhone.
Yeah, I'm pretty official. Yeah, that sounds good, actually.
Your plug's good. Yay.
Awesome. Look at us.
Hi, John.
Look at us
my
doing the
God.
thing.
So
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
This is so fun.
I know. I'm so glad you agreed to do this. Thank you.
Well, I definitely would agree no matter what anyways, because you guys are all our grandfather family is literally family, so.
I know.
Good times together.
Which, if we're being real, right, for a
What's up?
TV show or a
Yeah.
movie, while you're doing it, it's like summer camp.
It is. It's literally like we work, but at the same time, like when they say cut, we're goofing around, we're making jokes, we're
Right.
playing with the kids, all that kind of stuff. So that really like embraced like a family kind of kinship. And the crew, everybody, the writers.
But like most things, I don't know how it's been for you, but most things I've done, we say like, we are going to stay in touch. I will see you.
That is so true.
And you
We're
never
like,
do.
Oh my gosh, did you cry? Well, we didn't cry, but you kind of cry like your last day, like, oh, we're done.
Right.
But yeah, you're always like, we're staying in touch, and you try. Not that you don't, maybe.
I don't try.
I don't know. Sometimes it's like you keep working and you keep it moving. But I think we had like our little, like our group chats, and we also like bonded off this, we went to like parties together.
Right.
Like all of us had fun. So we had our like fun goof around like group chats that really kept us together while we were filming.
Right.
And so I think it continued on like afterwards. And now we bump into each other and things like that. It's cute.
No, I think we were a very special group that you don't see a lot of times.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like I've had I did this movie with Chris Hemsworth. And obviously, like, he's super famous now, so it's much harder to sort of keep up a relationship. But, like, when we made the movie, I don't think I've been closer with anyone in my life. I was like,
Not even John, because the two of you are like, I swear, like you've been like doppelganged. Like
we're pretty
the two
close.
of you are so close. It's like it one and it two.
I can't believe that we've sustained a relationship.
That's really cool, especially because you played father and son on TV. And then you already were bonding throughout. And then you guys are so great with the kids, like the girls. I love them. I miss them, by the way. I'm a terrible TV mom because
That's all right.
I haven't gotten to do that with them as much. But I keep up with them through like Instagram. And then every now and then I'll bump into them. So they're so big now.
Do you have any version of that where you're like, where you can't believe that you're friends with a certain person who you look up to or is a personality, someone famous?
Yeah, definitely. I've been around people who were so like, well, it's not the same way that you guys friendship. It's so cool seeing that. It's like a whole other level. But I've met people and I'm like, I've hung around them and been like, wow, I'm real. Like I used to like I had a talk long time ago. I bumped into Janet Jackson at a club.
Wow.
And she was my idol. Still is. I love her. And I have so many funny stories about even the first time that I met her. Like, I cried for hours. I was so happy. But, like, even after that experience, I met her at a club years ago. It used to be, now it's Greystone. But before that, I think it was Area.
Somewhere where I can't get in, some fancy Hollywood place, no big deal.
You can, of course, get in. And she was there, and I ended up sitting next to her and talking with her. And I was just like, in my mind, she was being so cool. And she was like, I don't remember, we were talking about some regular shit.
Right.
And I was like, I had a moment. Like, at first I was being cool and just talking and I didn't think about it. And then all of a sudden I was like, holy cow, like, this is happening.
Right.
That's really cool. So I can imagine, like, if I ever got to work with her and had that much time and as sweet as she is, I'm sure I'd have the same friendship as you guys.
Well, do you find that, and John and I actually, he was the first on the podcast. You're the third.
Oh, he's been on? Yay,
so
John.
you are in great company. And I called in. I still can't believe, by the way, that like all my friends, who are my friends, but also people like you, Stamos, that are like famous friends, everyone's saying yes. It's crazy.
Well, that proves what kind of person you are.
Obviously,
you're a great person.
I'm the bomb.
Yeah,
but I could not.
.com.
I'm like, I'm about to get fucking rejected so hard,
Dude,
body. Like,
that's the hardest thing about doing a podcast. Like, it's great because you're motivated and you're doing it and you want to get a message out and you want to talk. But it's like if you're doing it like with friends or interviewing people, like that's the hardest part is trying to get people to agree and make the time to do it.
Right.
So
that's
I
why
can understand that's like the biggest challenge that you're like, okay, I got to have the balls to call my friends.
Yeah.
Do I have real relationships? Do people like, will they want to do it? So it's cool.
It's funny because I'm working with this company, Cadence 13. Good looking out. Love you guys.
Hi.
And when we were talking about putting together this thing, they were like, we have this great studio. It's in the middle of LA. I'm like, are you guys on drugs? I'm like, no person that's even remotely sort of famous is going to interrupt their day to come meet me on Wilshire Boulevard. Like, so now I have this little mobile kit. I come to people. It's like perfect.
You're so funny. I would have gone to Wilshire Boulevard, by the way.
Well, you are just...
Yes.
Well, you're Christina Milian.
I would have been like, where are we meeting? Okay, cool. I'll see you there.
You're a really outstanding human.
Well, thank you.
Because
so are you.
I mean, it is hard. It's hard to get people to do anything.
Yeah. And by the way, John is probably for sure the other person I definitely was like, wow, I grew up watching Full House and just like I had the biggest crush on him too.
Of course.
And then he's just so like charismatic and so sweet and everything in person and just such a great person to people.
Right.
Like I definitely would have my moments like in the beginning I was like, that was my crush. Like I was remembering all the dreams that I had about him when I was a kid.
Right.
It's terrible to say, but it's true. And then then I was like,
Talk
I'm working
more
with
about
him.
these
He
dreams.
just ends up being like a cool guy and he's normal. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's John.
So when do those people become human to you, right? Because I remember shooting the show with John and we did the pilot. And of course, it's only a week of your life, right? So he sustained his legend status.
Yeah.
But, when you're 6 weeks into shooting, you're on the 15th hour of a long day.
Yeah.
Even a legend might be like, yo, dude, I'm fucking over this.
Yeah. They could definitely be like that.
And
him, no. Like, definitely we know John wasn't like that, which is so cool.
No.
I don't know how he does it.
I mean, but even so, like, or seeing him, worry about one of the takes,
Yeah.
being secure about something, or so quickly
Or
these
even
heroes
being down about like if other people need it. Like, he's down with the timing to give to other people while he's working. Because some people, like, they dip out on you when they're like done working, or like they're not as patient, especially if they're the lead of a show. But
Right.
I think he's very humble. I mean, most people I've met have all been humble like that too. But it's a choice. Wait, you have to tell me. So, how did this come about? Why'd you decide to do a podcast?
Oh,
Tell me
wow.
about this.
On the hot seat.
Yes.
The reality is I'm fascinated by the medium. I've been like a talk radio junkie since as far back as I can remember.
Really? Okay.
Like Howard Stern. And
Yeah,
then,
Howard Stern was awesome.
Oh,
He was
the best.
I mean, it's so crazy to say it now because it's like so derogatory, all the stuff that he would say. But
Yeah.
at the same time, he was epic at what he did. And yeah.
One of the best interviewers ever, if not the best. And then podcasting came around, and I just found myself listening at nauseum to all these different guys, and I've been lucky enough to have a special experience, as we all have, for people that get to do what we do. And I figured if I was surrounded with such generous, lovely friends as Miss Christina Milian, who would humor me for an hour, that it would be worth taking a shot. So
Well, I'm very proud of you.
I'm
And I
proud
think it
of
was
you,
worth
Christina.
it. This is going to be fun to listen to.
So you're from Jersey, huh? Born in Jersey?
Yeah, I was born in Jersey City. Yep.
Do you, but you don't, how long did you spend in Jersey? Do you rep Jersey, the Garden State?
I do like to rep Jersey.
The Shore?
I definitely like to rep Jersey. I grew up in a couple places. So my parents were in my dad was in the military.
Okay.
So both of my parents are from Jersey. They're from Union City and North Bergen.
Okay.
And obviously they met there.
And that's
somewhere
North
at the end of
Jersey.
high school, yeah. And
That's like real, that's not like rural Jersey. That's like
right
city.
next to New York, exactly. Literally, like you just take the freeway and you're in the tunnel, the Lincoln Tunnel.
The Turnpike.
Yes, take the Turnpike.
I got
it's only
roots
like
in
4
Jersey,
exits
too.
off. Get off of Kennedy.
Love it.
You do?
Yeah.
Hey,
My whole family.
Really?
West Orange represent.
Oh, no kidding. So you represent too?
Yeah, I'm from New York.
Yeah.
But I like Jersey.
I mean, I feel it's kind of like relatively like the same feel, which is good. Jersey, New York.
Yeah.
So I was born there, and then we went to like Tampa for a second, but I was so little I don't really count that. But then the rest of the time when I was like from like 5 or 6, I was in Maryland. So I grew up in Waldorf, Maryland.
Okay.
My dad, at first we were at St. Andrews Air Force Base. And I grew up there till I was like 13. But when we were in Maryland, it's only like a 4-hour drive to Jersey.
Right.
So the rest of our relatives are always in Jersey. My aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody. So we would always visit them like almost every other weekend. At the same time I was acting. So we were like driving to New York just to do like, to do auditions, Broadway plays and all that stuff that you do when you're an actor in New York.
Right.
And we would go visit the family in Jersey all the time. So I always got a little bit of like the little suburban lifestyle that I had in Maryland. I experienced that. And at the same time, I had a little side of Jersey.
And your dad's in the Air Force?
He was in the Air Force, yeah, until, I can't remember. I think it was like 6 or 7.
So strict, tough? Military dad?
He's not strict and tough. I wouldn't say that, but he was definitely like very encouraging, tough, as in like teaching me that, to challenge myself to be better, for grades, for sports.
Right.
But at the same time, supportive and fun and cool. Like, my dad was actually a really cool guy, but of course I feared my dad. Like, any girl should fear their dad when it comes to like boys and things like that. Like,
right.
Not to be disrespectful. Like, it's important, There's very good things that he taught me. So my dad actually wasn't too strict. Yeah, he was pretty cool. But, I didn't F anything up either.
I mean, it's really interesting seeing my wife, and, she's one of 3 girls.
Uh-huh.
And they're, her father, my father-in-law, is just sort of like the greatest guy ever.
Oh, that's cool.
He's just one
Oh,
of
my dad
those.
is. He's really cool. You should meet my dad too. He's like just so cool. He just like loves people. He travels. He's just nice. He's very optimistic. And especially in this time in his life, he's just like living and he's happy. And so it's cool. You should check him out on Instagram.
Oh, really?
His Instagram says it all. It's Cuban Puro, Puro, Puro. Pero,
Well, I'll be checking that out immediately.
thank you. You'll have a good laugh at my dad's life.
So then you moved to Maryland in the suburbs?
Yeah, we lived in the suburbs. So it was first Andrews Air Force Base when I was little and when my dad was in the military. But then we moved to a town called Waldorf, which is in St. Charles County. So shout out St. Charles. Hey.
And what do they have? Crabs? Baltimore crabs? What do they got? What do they got
Yeah,
going
we
on?
do have blue crabs. Known for getting bushels of blue crabs. That's the part of Maryland I live in where we just get the bushels of crabs and we have the Old Bay seasoning all over. And
Right.
we go to Virginia Beach in the summer, things like that, or go to caves in Baltimore, in the middle of, somewhere in Maryland, and look at crystal caves and stuff. It's like trees everywhere. It was a new town at the time. And it still probably hasn't grown a lot, but there's a good amount of people. But yeah,
So would you say that because I grew up in New York City,
Yeah.
and you're so reminiscent of, people that I grew up with, just
Yeah.
because of your flavor and who you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
and what you're interested in. But it sounds like you sort of lived in suburbia for the most part?
For the most part, I'd say, yeah, from like 6 to 13, I was in suburbia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there just, we'd walk to school, things like that. My elementary school, my middle school was farther away, but yeah, my high school that I went to were like
Picturesque.
a couple miles away. Like I would walk to school with my friends, yeah.
And what about, so then where does Christina Milian, the performer, come from?
From all that.
So did your dad
Since I was little.
have any of it? I mean, who'd you get it from?
I can't say I necessarily got the. Well, okay, it goes back because like my grandmother was a dancer at the Tropicana in Cuba, so I'm
Wow.
Cuban, yeah. So Cuban roots. I've had like people like one of my great grandfathers was an orchestrator, So it was like I hear stories like that. But as far as this generation, nobody in our family did anything like entertainment wise. But my mom always had a really great voice.
Right.
She said that she joined like a little rock band with her friends when she was like in high school. And I mean like probably something wild and crazy kind of rock band.
Both parents from Cuba?
Yeah, both parents from Cuba.
So could they coming here? When did they come here? In the 70s?
They came in I think like 69. Yeah.
So then they couldn't go back, right?
Yeah, they couldn't go back and they haven't been since.
Really?
They want to, and we all want to actually go visit Cuba. But, for the longest time, they hadn't, for political reasons, they felt it wasn't right to go yet. But then, since then, we're able to go visit and stuff. We just haven't like gotten to plan it all the way.
And they moved here as a couple?
No, my parents actually moved when they were like 5 and 6 years old. So they met each other in New Jersey.
Spotify. I mean, it's an ingenious thing, that Spotify. Creators of Spotify, this is Josh Peck letting you know you've crushed it. Feel great about yourself. Order dessert with your meal tonight because you have come up with a brilliant idea that's once in a generation. Something that I will never be able to do because I'm just the laugh funny guy. You know what I mean? I'm just the look at me, look at the clown in the corner, haha, laugh at me, or just look at me, acknowledge my existence so I can fill that bottomless pit in my soul. Anyway, look, did you know that every single episode of Curious is now on Spotify? Yeah. The same app that has millions of songs now also has thousands of podcasts. And you can listen to your favorite shows on Spotify. Perhaps it's a show like this, like Curious, this one that you're listening to, and discover new ones. It's so great. You just have to do it. So to subscribe to our show, search for Curious, tap follow, and get every new episode delivered to you. Podcasts on Spotify, they're streaming right now, and now, and now. So was there any feeling of that growing up, like you I mean, because some of your roots came from a place that you could never go to.
Yeah. That part always kind of killed me because I was like, man, like it sucks. I can't go back to a place where, and discover, my ancestry and feel what it feels like. But have all these great stories from my mom and from my aunts and everybody that have really vividly painted my imagination since I was a child.
Right.
So it's very fulfilling, the stories that they're able to share. And at the same time, bittersweet because I'm like, man, as I grow up and I'm getting older, I'm like, oh, I want to experience this.
Right.
But I'm hopeful and I know that someday I will. I just have to figure it all out so I can do it the right way. But yeah, there was always there were little gaps in my life where I was like, man, I just felt like something's missing, but, through the food, through family, most of my aunts, uncles, and cousins, everybody's here now. So because of them, it feels like family. It feels like what home is. And I can just kind of recreate what that is and hopefully someday be able to go. And now I have a daughter, I can bring her.
And what would you say is, because I feel like it's easy for people to, especially Latin countries in the Caribbean, right? So DR and Cuba and Puerto Rico, and it's easy for people to sort of lump everyone into sort of one categorization. Yeah. But what would you say is uniquely Cuban? Because you guys are on some other shit.
Yeah.
You guys have your own. I mean, it's so rich, the culture.
I think something really special I've noticed about Cubans is we have this really great ability to be positive, and we tell these great stories with loud voices, and we use our hands, and we're so expressive, and we're so into drawing people in that I feel like that energy kind of just it pours out of every Cuban that I know.
Right.
So I think that's what makes us really special. I don't know. I haven't met a Cuban that didn't entertain me in some way. My whole family were very entertaining.
What's the dish? What's the one Cuban food you can't live without?
Oh man, the one Cuban food I can't
Ropa
live
vieja, bistec palamilla.
I like picadillo.
I know shit.
Picadillo. I know. I'm hearing you right now. Picadillo is my favorite. That's by far my favorite.
What
my
is
mom
that?
makes the best picadillo, and I've learned since then. But it's basically ground beef in kind of like what we call a sofrito. So you take peppers, onions, and garlic, and some little bit of tomato sauce, some white wine, and all our seasonings, which are sazon, adobo, and a little garlic salt, things like that, and give it some flavor.
It's like the Caribbean bouillabaisse, right?
Exactly. It is like the bouillabaisse to all especially Cuban food, but even Puerto Rican, So you mix that together. Put a little, makes a little sauce with all the flavor, and you have the right rice and the beans and the plantains. That's my Cuban meal that I'm it's my go-to.
Yo.
Yeah.
I want to come over.
Let
me come over.
You should.
So, okay, so now you're in Maryland, and what happens? You start going to...
Yeah, I just asked my parents. I grew up with people like Madonna and Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson and all these epic people that had such a mystique to them. They were so powerful on stage. That was the epitome of people just passing out and crying and watching shows from these amazing idols to me that were just so inspiring that I just had dreams of doing the same thing. I would see them and I'm like, wow, I just wanted to do the same thing they were doing.
Could you sing? Were you naturally talented? Where'd you do it? Did you do
I
it
was
at
always
church?
singing.
Did you do it at school?
No church. I had piano lessons and I had vocal lessons when I was younger. So because I wanted it so bad, I wanted to sing. I just wanted to be on TV and perform or be Miss America or be in the Olympics or something. I wanted to be something, something strong and powerful that touched people, that was I don't know, me and engaging in performing in some way. So I just really I basically begged my parents for a long time to help me. So they did in the beginnings, I did John Casablanca, which is these classes that parents pay way too much money for,
acting
and they promise
class.
you. It's not even an acting class; it's an agency, but they make you pay, and you take modeling lessons, and but they send you out on stuff, but they're grooming you.
Oh, like pay for an agent.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Exactly. You know, locally they have
That's a
things
brilliant
like that.
racket.
Yeah. And, you know, honestly, you find out later that you don't have to do stuff like that. But
Or maybe you
but
do
it
when
does
you have
actually,
no
like,
connections.
Exactly. It helps you out of your shell. So
Right.
to me, I can definitely say it helped. I mean, it went along with my personality at that time. So yeah, it started with that, and then we got like an agent eventually, and I started doing like auditions at like a 7, and I sucked. I didn't get anything. Not that I sucked. I just didn't book anything. But to me, I thought I was working. Like I
God.
was so happy. I loved going to auditions because I felt like that was the job. Like
What an
I couldn't tell the
underdeveloped
difference.
7-year-old you are. Isn't that such a funny, because I'm a kid actor, obviously, and like, you know, for us, like anyone else would be like, of course you were bad at 7. You're 7.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, like, but
Yeah,
for
I don't
us, we're
even know
like,
if I-
we started late. Like, God, like I was
I
just
know,
turning
right?
8 and I squandered my first like 4 years.
I shouldn't have done commercials for so long. I should have, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're a whole.
That's even too transitioning your acting from like, yes, in commercials and being extra big. Like that's what was big at the time.
Yeah,
and
we
then
all
you
start
find out
out.
that like you probably should have been taking like some Shakespearean, you know, acting lessons so you can book the jobs you really want when
Yeah.
you're like transitioning from kid actor to.
Or maybe you just shouldn't act till you're like an
Yeah.
adult, and
Yeah.
you should actually just train. I think about what would happen if my kids wanted to be actors,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, you sort of say like, if you couldn't, like, I could never do anything else, and I imagine the same
Yeah,
was for
yeah,
you.
I've always loved this.
So then, do you just support them at a young age?
I feel like if they have the same kind of passion for it that, you know I had when I was a kid. Did you have the passion for this, or you just kind of fell into it?
Yeah, it was nuts. I was like
Yeah.
a Chinese gymnast. I
Like,
had
you
no
want
fear.
it. Yeah.
Like,
So it was the same thing here. Like, if my daughter was to tell me that she was as passionate about it as I felt about it, and she says it at an age that, you know, anytime soon, I would understand. And I would
Right.
try to understand where she's coming from and see how bad she wants it. But I definitely wouldn't just throw her in. Like, I would, you know, let her experience, you know, acting classes so she knows what an audition is like and all this stuff. So she knows even what the process is, because she might not like it. So, you know, I don't know. We'll see.
and what about
I'd
how
support
long?
my kid. But, you know, I'd be very like careful, you know, I have the experience too. So I did well. I got to say, like, I felt like I did well with my mom. I didn't fall into any bad crowd or anything like that.
Right.
I always had fun and stayed focused. So I would hope to do the same for her.
I fell into a bad crowd.
Did you?
Luckily, there was just no social media then.
Yeah, huh?
So, yeah, there were no camera phones, so no one was taking photos of me
Damn,
sowing
yeah.
my wild oats.
Hey, you got to do it sometimes.
Oh God, being a big stereotype in
Yeah.
West Hollywood.
Hey, I did it as an adult actor.
Listen, we all got to
Just
do it,
kidding.
right?
Yeah, you gotta have fun, you know. I do it in moderation, which is good, but my moderation has also been in. I'm lying. My moderation. What am I talking about? Now I do it in moderation. Now
Fair.
it's like I pick my things with quality, you know.
Well, but it does seem that you've evaded, like, obviously you've had some public relationships and what have
Yeah.
you, but you've evaded scandal. And,
Yeah. And I try not to do anything that's scandalous or anything that's like, you know, my mom wouldn't be proud of, you know?
Right.
You got Uber now, so there's no need to drink and drive people, you know. There's never been a need for that at all. But I'm
Right.
just saying, like, there's ways we can be responsible and make those choices and still have fun. So I think I've got a pretty good balance of that. And I try, if you want to go crazy, always make sure you have a good friend looking out for you.
100%. And God knows you do. You have the best friends.
I do have some great friends, so I've always been comfortable with knowing I'm going to be good.
Well, I just imagine, and that's part of like when I've seen friends of mine who've been in the business and fallen into bad friend groups. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you think these fuckboys are going to protect you while you're out like
Man.
tearing it up at the club and
That's the
like getting
truth.
way too drunk,
Dude.
like they're the ones calling the paparazzi.
Yeah, it could be them because they want to see themselves in the picture and all that.
Now, how
So crazy.
What do you think of that phenomenon? Because I have a friend who works for a big paparazzi outlet.
Okay.
And he says that you would be amazed at the majority of people who call the paparazzi themselves. He's like, I'm talking A-list, like
For real?
I'm not going to say any names, but you can imagine Selena
A-list.
Gomez. No, I'm kidding.
You're so
But,
stupid.
No,
You're right. Like,
I have
she
no
needs
idea.
that.
Yeah,
That's
she
so
doesn't
funny.
need that help.
No.
But like, I'm talking really famous people that you see
Yeah.
in the limelight a lot, who are the ones arranging for the photos.
Yeah, I've
and-
definitely heard that before.
Yeah.
I think it happens. I think people, you know, I don't know. There's some people who might do it for attention, and then some people who are about their business. You never know.
Right.
They're like, well, I look cute today, so let me make sure.
It's not a coincidence that these people have these incredible beach bodies and just happen to be like
those pictures are so funny. It's
frolicking.
Like, yeah, like who just frolics for the day and whatever beach and it kind of looks like it's a gloomy day.
Oh my God. I just had photos. My wife and I were on vacation in Cancun.
Yeah.
You want to talk about when a beach photo shoot is real? I got some paparazzi photos here. I look like a beach whale.
Well, yeah, right.
I look like I'd been eating guacamole for 10 days straight.
Well, that's usually what happens when you're on vacation.
Oh
You're
my
like
God. It was
drinking,
demoralizing.
eating everything. Forget if there's like a buffet.
I called my mom
there, I eat
immediately.
everything.
I was like, Mom, go to Just Jared right now. They got me, Mom. They got me good. Oh,
Damn.
God. It was so embarrassing. But it's like, I just have a...
You didn't even know they were there?
No idea.
It's really crazy. Honestly, like, for me, where I live, they literally, like, I think they just drive back and forth on the street, and they know my car. And so, like, I could be doing anything, just like fucking, just go pick my nose at the juice bar, bar, and I'm like, shit. They're like at the door taking the picture, or they just pop up. So you kind of get used to it.
They get you.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, damn. Like this morning, I'm so happy they didn't get me because I had socks and these pointy, like, silver shoes. I just threw them on to take Violet to school.
I'm sure you pulled it off.
Oh, man, I look like an elf.
But, like, I don't get that. Like, I don't have... Of course, paparazzi gets me in the one time where I decide to be shirtless in a foreign country. God damn it. I'm like, I look cute sometimes. Sometimes I go out to nice restaurants.
Who knew I was on this damn beach? And who did this? Like,
yeah.
Where's this guy live?
Yeah, exactly.
Where were you?
I was in Cancun.
In Cancun. Oh, I guess, people go to Cancun. There's probably other people that were there, too.
They got me good.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
They were like...
I've had those moments. I've had a couple of those. Yeah. Where I'm like...
They're like, we're actually here for Wilmer Valderrama's vacationing next door, but I guess we'll get Josh Peck while we're here.
You're so sad. You're so stupid.
It's the sad truth.
I mean, it's happened to me before too. And I'm like, why are all these people? I'm like, oh, it's not for me.
I mean, I'm fascinated by, like, do you think that, because I feel as though, and you sort of walk that line, right? Where it's like, you do everything and you're... More so than any one thing in particular, I feel like the name Christina Milian and who you are, like, not to be corny, but it's like, you're a star. You're a person. You're one of those people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, and my buddy and I have had like a debate about this, that people like Kanye or Beyonce or even Kim Kardashian in her own way, they've made an agreement that they are going to live their life in the public. Yeah. That they're going to live. You have to
understand it's part of the job, so you have to accept that.
But I feel like that's a decision. Like, I don't live that way. Mm-hmm. But I feel like a lot of those people that maybe make the call to the Paps, and like, I don't know who it is, but those people that do, they just have realized that they're going to give their whole life to the public and not try to live their own private thing.
Well, if you go that far and you're like calling people to kind of like take your pictures and stuff like that, I guess you want your stuff out there. So,
but I mean, sometimes it's required, right? Because we want to know everything Kanye does and everything Beyonce does.
Well, I think those people, I mean, they're so amazing. I know they're not calling anybody, but yeah, I guess you have to kind of like, accept that it's part of the, part of it. And sometimes we don't want it to be, but I mean,
they don't know.
It just is what it is. I don't think what people think about you or say about you, whether it's in, magazines, all that stuff even matters. Especially when you're that high up. It's like, okay. Anyways.
But they also like, I think
I'm going to keep making this music and you're going to keep, eating it up like,
Jerry Seinfeld has a great bit about like, he was asked, do you miss your old life? He's like, do I miss not being famous? It wasn't that great. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like,
I mean, there's a lot of perks that comes with all this.
Well, I think for some people, they have no interest in living a normal life ever. Like, they don't ever want to fly Southwest Sea boarding group ever again. Yeah. They're like, I'm going to fly a PJ for the rest of my life. Like, I want to go, like, I'm cool with going by myself in the deep San Fernando Valley to a Chinese food buffet. Yeah. And I don't need anyone to take a photo of it.
No, 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 no,
Like,
no, no.
But some people are like, nah, I'm going to eat at Nobu and fly in private jets and live that life, which I know sounds awesome, but
Yeah.
you're also giving up a
Yeah.
certain part
Well,
of your life.
I do have to say, like, I do like having my own privacy and my own life. And I do like having my moments where I look like crap and I'm going to the, store up the street without having to, like, think about something getting taking a picture or something like that. As much as I've definitely, accepted that I know it comes with the territory, it's like, it's still, I'm able to, for me personally, I mean, I've done a reality show, so I'm wrong to say, like, I'm not, but even when I did my reality show, I allowed what I wanted people to see, and I was okay with what people were seeing because it had to do with the story of my life at that time. And those were the things that meant something to me. And I felt like, other women or other people can kind of either watch it. Yeah, it's to be entertained, but at the same time, it's really like a lot of people related to it, like the pains and the things, like, people actually watch, and they watch people's lives. It's crazy to say it, but they kind of like get inspired, maybe in different ways when they're like, I know I've watched stuff before and, like, let's just say I'm in a bad situation and then it's like almost like rewatching somebody else experiencing it on television has been like, you know what? It is stupid. Why are you with this person? Blah, blah, blah. If you're judging this person on television for being with this, loser who's doing XYZ,
right?
Guess what? The same thing's happening to you. So,
well, it's incredibly.
Technically, I've learned some little things from people's lives on television.
I mean, I think people are voyeuristic, and I remember we were shooting our show when you were also doing the reality show, and I didn't know where to draw the line because I would like be with you on set, and you were like completely just my peer and my colleague, and then I'd see a commercial for your show, and I'd be like, "Shit is going down with Christina."
I
oh my
know,
god! And I'm like, "Is this real?"
All of that stuff was real.
Really?
Yeah, no. Every single bit of it. I was also a producer on the show. So I wanted to make sure that nothing, like, in the beginning when you do a reality show, producers, everybody, they just get from you what they think they know of you.
Right.
And so they'll help recreate moments so that you're talking to a family member about what's really happening. Right. Because they're not just following you all day. We don't have time to waste camera all day. You're actually like, okay, well, you're going through this situation with your sister in real life. Okay, so now we're going
to... Wait for us to light it, set up 3 cameras, and get the audio right before you confront her.
Sometimes we just wouldn't even experience it together until we were together. And the show actually really made us, like, communicate more. And it actually brought us closer together. So it's kind of funny thinking about what the reality show did for us.
How do you get everyone on board? Was anyone in your life like, nah, I'm good?
My mom.
Yeah, of course. But she was on it, no?
Yeah, she was on. She ended up being on it, but it took some convincing.
Right.
Because for years, people would come to us because they just saw the relationship between she and I and thought it would be interesting on TV. But then they found out I had 2 sisters, and then, like, where we came from, and, like, all, as women, just achieving so much as a family, and that was our unit. And no matter how much we, like, sometimes would argue and be crazy, or we're Cuban and or whatever, our Cuban and our, our Cubanness, there you go, brought us back together because family was just really important. So it ended up being like a great element for TV. So for years, people actually pitched it to us. And finally, like I said to my mom, I was like, why can't we do it? And she was like, because I don't want our skeletons out of the closet. I'm like, what skeletons? What are you talking about?
Well.
And she's like, well, reality shows ruin people. And I was like, yeah, but we're a family. We're not going anywhere. And so, I was like, our lives and what we live is actually an example to other women, and we shouldn't be afraid to show it. And people are always telling me, like, oh, like, the world doesn't know you enough. For music, they would always say, like,
right.
They don't know you enough. They don't know your story. And I was like, well, what better way to do it than on a show instead of, like, interviews where they only put half of, like, a real story,
But did you ever, side question, did you always get glammed every day that you had to do the reality show? Or did you ever go, like, no makeup, just woke
most
up,
of the time I got
finished
glammed.
the workout?
Yeah, most of the time I got glammed. And then sometimes it was just like, I would be like, turn the camera on. Like, because this moment, like, there would be something that's happening.
Moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that would happen as well.
I'm about to cry, and this is going to be the season finale.
Bitch, you're so funny. Hold on one second.
Hold on. Okay. Let me give you guys the season finale.
Let me think about it again. You're so stupid. No, but all of that stuff was really happening. Anytime there's tears, I can't just make myself cry for no reason. Honestly, all of that stuff, like the relationship stuff, all the crazy stuff that I showed that was in my life at that time really happened.
But to a certain extent, there is a safety net, right? Because you know that inevitably, if you go through something and you don't want it to wind up on air, you could put the kibosh on it. You had the control.
That's what you think.
Come on, you're a producer, right? Like
I am, but at the same time, there's always still, to a degree, there's still other powers that be that kind of decide certain things. And I really okay, there was this the first season, there was this huge fight between me, my mom, and my sisters. But it was a big fight. And it really happened. And after it happens, you're the next day, you're like, holy crap. Like in real life, when it happened and we filmed it, the next day we were like, wake up to that really happened, and that really happened on camera. And now we knew, and it wasn't even a plan or anything. We didn't know we were going to end up in this fight or anything. It was a crazy fight. I mean, argument, not, nothing physical, but we were pretty mean to each other, but we were honest with each other. And it was so crazy because it was the most therapeutic kind of fight ever. It was we got everything off of our chest about how we feel.
Right.
But it happened in front of camera. But the next day I was like, can we take that off? Can we not put that? Can we not put that? I'm like, no. I was like, well, can I at least see what's going to be put, But,
Jesus.
It is what it is. And it actually was it was pretty yeah, it was crazy, but it was real life. And so that was the best part of it.
Stamps.com. Oh, baby. I mean, I love it, right? Postage on demand. It's a no-brainer. Look, I love the post office as much as the next guy, but sometimes life gets in the way, and I got to mail stuff. So what do? I go to Stamps.com because I can buy and print real U.S. postage for any letter or any package. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I just click, print, mail, and I'm done. The other day, my wife, she did some online ordering. It's an adorable thing about her. And she wanted to return something. I said, no, apple of my eye, I shall handle that. Allow me to print some postage. I'll tape up the box, and that's now a completed task. You're welcome. She loved it. Anyway, right now, use Curious for this special offer, a 4-week trial, which includes postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the radio microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Curious. That's Stamps.com. Enter Curious. I mean, I'm married now, and so I watch what my wife watches, and I don't mean to let the cat out of the bag, but she's quite the reality TV watcher.
Yes.
And I have now become a fan inadvertently, and
yes.
I'm fascinated by these people and their lives. And I have a friend who she's on a really big reality show on Bravo, and she sort of says something to the effect of you sometimes feel the underlying pressure to make drama, of course, because listen, no one wants to watch people who are stoked going to Soul Cycle and having smoothies after, unless they're dumping the smoothies on each other because one of them slept with the other's boyfriend. But
you watch a lot of reality TV.
I've seen a few.
You're on point.
I like my Real Housewives.
You could be a producer already.
But and she said sometimes you feel the pressure, because you know that if you don't get in the drama, you're not going to be featured a lot that season. And so sometimes you just create shit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's got to be, I mean, it was obviously centered around you, so it was less pressure for you. But
yes,
if you want to be featured, you gotta come up with that good.
Hey. That's true. But I think that happens a lot for shows where you're putting strangers or friends together.
Real World Road Rules Challenge. Thing.
Yeah. Any of those. Because it's I feel like every man fends for themselves when it comes to that, because they're all thinking selectively hey, I could be this star. I'm thinking about my own paycheck. I'm thinking if they're taking the chance to do a reality show with total strangers and people that are their friends, it's kind of some people, of course, when they do it with their friends, they just go into it thinking they're just gonna have fun, but no, it's still work.
Right. And just as a side note, and you can talk about this as much or as little as you want, is dating famous people more fun?
That's pretty funny. Well, that's a funny question.
The answer is it has to be.
It must be. I don't know.
Right?
I think being in the in the spotlight myself has obviously attracted other people that have that I've kind of that are in the spotlight as well. And I think probably the things that we were, excited about or interested in were so similar that I guess you could say it's a lot of fun.
Of course.
It's a lot more fun because it's equally kind of where my mind is. But I'm not going to say I've dated different kinds of guys. Don't get me wrong.
Look, if you're dating one guy with a private jet and another guy, and I'm dating Bill. He works for the post office.
You're an idiot. Bill
might
be a lot of fun, honestly.
Bill's probably an awesome guy.
Because private jets are super cool, but if it's with the wrong person, it's just not right. It just doesn't feel good.
Of course.
Because so it's not fun if it's based off of just because they can do those things, But yeah, I've definitely dated
I would date
the Bill type. Yeah, I've dated the Bill type too and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and in no ways am I talking down on that in any way. But of course, we're all, especially when we're young.
You can get really creative.
Well, when you're presented with the opportunity to live and experience these things, we all want to say it didn't last forever, but at least we have the experience.
I could definitely say I have the experience under my belt, which is cool. Especially where I'm at now and the person that has my interest. As much as he, is a performer, he's really a cool, normal guy. And we have the best time doing the same regular things that I think any other couple that's not in the industry does. It's all based off of laughter and fun and kind of just normal things that are around us, And that's the best part. It's some of the material things become less important as you get older, I think, to some, at least for me.
Right.
And kind of what my goals are for those things and why. I really just love traveling and even just doing
and if we have to do it privately, I suppose I'll go.
You're so crazy.
And do you think?
Oh my gosh, I love you. No, but traveling is driving to even Palm Desert or something. I went to Joshua Tree recently, and that was so cool because it was just amazing. It's just the land. It's right there. It's
good name for a tree.
For free.
What do you think? And we don't have to say anyone in particular, but and Howard Stern always talks about this, how whether you're making an album with someone or you're making a movie, there's such the chemistry and such a romantic atmosphere, especially if you have to be in love with each other or have a romantic interest in the movie. Yeah. So is it just easier to fall in love when you're working with someone?
If you're single, that's the first thing.
Right.
If you're single, and I think you actually I definitely can say I've fallen in love or fallen into a relationship while filming something. I was single, and at the same time, the other person was, and I think they grew my interest as we were working.
Right.
They didn't have my interest before that,
Sure.
But then getting to know them, it was became this fun friendship, and then the friendship kind of developed into dating. So I can say that's happened before. And then there's other times where the setting is romance and all that stuff, and you're supposed to be that, but at the same time, it's no, it's just. It's your professional job, and it's just acting.
Well, it's funny because I've had romantic relationships in movies. Yeah. My characters have with.
It's usually kind of awkward, to be honest with you.
There have been a few women that I've worked with that I really disliked deeply.
Oh my gosh.
And I just was oh God.
No way.
Oh yeah. And then there's people that you love, and it's. Even when you and I you played my baby mama.
Yeah, I did.
On
that
Grandfather.
Was so fun. It was so funny.
And while I was with my wife at the time, and we were, you and I just had a wonderful working relationship.
Yeah.
Of course, there was a part of me that was I can easily find the things to love about Christina. Because it needed to
have that, especially because we had a child in the show, and it was really about us. Our characters at the time, being the whole arc of how it went,
Right.
So it's kind of trying to give those feelings to the television and to the people. So yeah, you totally like, and that's what's great about being an actor. That's our jobs to do that, which is so cool. If you're really like know how to develop yourself and develop your character, that's a really important element. But it's great because it's like you can act it out and be really good at it and just be like high five each other when we're done.
Yeah, just be
That was
stoked about
awesome
it.
and be like, oh yeah, that was a good scene.
Oh my God. And it's also so, I mean, like, I don't know if you remember, but I think it was like the 4th episode where we had a intimate scene, a scene of intimacy.
Oh my gosh, it's
And
so
like,
intimate.
it's so inherently awkward, but
It is.
when you're there with someone who can literally just be like a friend,
Yeah.
like a companion,
Yep.
where you're just like, here we are together in this awkward situation, making make believe and getting paid really well to do so.
Yeah.
And like, let's just live it up
Yeah.
and try to make this as fun and silly as possible
Yeah.
because we're not curing cancer here.
Yeah.
We're just kind
No,
of
especially our show was like it's fun and it's also like these
Yeah.
two different characters, your character and my character too. We're so unique too. So even just like you can only laugh at like with the situation these two characters are actually in, and at the same time have heart for it too. So it's like, oh, it was just fun.
right.
Yeah,
And then we can close the sort of relationship chapter of this with this.
you're so funny.
And you know, obviously we talked about all like sort of the exciting, cool things about dating someone that's in the limelight or super powerful or what have you. But then inevitably when you're dating someone, some nameless, super famous rapper, whatever, and
Yeah, nameless.
and you're, you know, and they're so busy and they're so married to their work as like so many people in our business are.
Yeah.
What's that? How do you find that balance? You know, I imagine that must have been really challenging at times.
Well, I think for most of my relationships have been actually like a long distance, like long-term relationships, which it actually worked for me because I feel like work and like my career has been such a a passion and a driving focus for me that, the time and the energy that goes into that I did good splitting both the energy because at the same time I like to focus on my work and if they're busy and I'm busy, it kind of works out for both of us. So I'm not like sitting there like, when are you gonna be done or anything like that. So it worked out for me at the time. I think I never really had a problem with it in any of the situations. Yes, they didn't work out in the end, and I'm sure time, giving more time possibly could have changed the outcome of those things. But I also did give a lot of time, and it didn't change the outcome. It was just what it is. Is what it is.
Right.
It wasn't right. So I think some people make it worth your time, and so I think I was just enjoying life. But now I'm in a place where I'm like, time is of the essence.
Right.
My time, any time taken away from me with you is taken away from my daughter. It's just energy and like, to me, those are, my career is really important, but my daughter's number one thing. And even the choices I'm making for a career and the things and as far as relationship, to me, it's more about quality instead of quantity right now.
And what do you think? I mean, inevitably, we see so few of these famous on famous relationships work out.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't seem possible. And I think it's just because I know for me, like I'm lucky my wife is an artist, so she's creative, but she's not in the business. She's a civilian, which is like so refreshing because, it's March now. And if I had to go through with her what she went through with me with pilot season, we'd be divorced. Because I'd be like, you are one needy psycho, which is what I'm sure she was feeling for me. But inevitably, we're able to sort of be there because our lives were not both down on the same days about the same thing.
Yeah.
So we can be strong for each other at different times. And I find, when you have a couple people are making it work. Jessica Biel and Timberlake and Beyonce and Jay.
Hey,
but I don't
Will
know.
and Jada.
It's hard.
It definitely can be hard. But I do believe in love, and I do believe in love for even entertainers and performers. And sometimes, you have soulmates, several soulmates, or who knows, but
Several Soulmates,
I believe,
the
I
new
know,
album
right?
from Christina Milian.
7 songs. 7 soulmates.
7 songs.
These are the stories.
Lucky number 7.
No, but that's pretty funny. But I do think that there's hope for relationships. I feel like we're seeing it more often that people are really like, as far as they're valuing relationships. I think, it's kind of scary that the world can be so trendy sometimes. But, I feel like, I feel that
Look,
people
our
are appreciating
president-
what love is, and there's getting more examples of it from all generations and all, I don't know, genres of everything, that they're starting to see that what an asset it is to be with someone and to build a friendship and a team and to go through things together and to learn stuff about each other and show what real love is. So I feel like there's examples of it more often. People are speaking about it, and I think people are respecting, men and women, each other more, valuing each other more, and family. Time is of the essence. So it's like, I keep saying that, but it's true. We don't know what tomorrow brings. And I want to be with a loved one, someone who cares about me at the end. So you gotta,
I mean, our president is having sex with porn stars. So at
maybe
the end
that's why we're all forming families.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
We're scared.
So
Get your wife, get your kids, hurry up.
yeah, get it together, guys. We need to get in line here. So let's talk about the music.
Yeah.
And is that your great love before anything else?
For anything? Oh man. Yeah, I always like music, just always has my heart. But at the same time, I have to say acting does too. Like they both equally were the two things growing up that I was just like intrigued by, people, performing, as a character and just kind of like you said, playing like dress up in, what's the game you said?
What?
Make believe, playing make believe. Because I was like, that was my life 24/7. You
Right.
know, if I wasn't, daydreaming about being on television or doing commercials or whatever, I was literally sleeping thinking about it. What was my point? I forgot.
Well, here's one.
Yeah, go back to it.
So you're talking about
point.
music and your love of music.
Yes,
Yeah.
and love music. Yeah.
So what about now? You've written a lot of music for people. Like
Yeah.
You're a co-writer on Baby for Justin Timberlake and
Bieber, yeah.
or for Bieber
And then J-Lo, I wrote a song called Play. I co-wrote a song called Walk Away for Paula Dianda with Neo. And then some other songs, which is really cool. And then, of course, a bunch of my songs I've written too. So,
And how do you decide to give a song away? Is that like giving up a kid?
well, when you're a songwriter and even just as an artist, I was in the studio a lot. Like I have hundreds of records that I've recorded and written for myself.
Right.
But I would, part of being a songwriter is always practicing your craft and making songs. And if somebody wants your song, like, and you believe in yourself enough, if it doesn't feel like, if you don't want to give it away, obviously keep it. But sometimes it's like you believe in yourself enough, you'll write another song,
Do you always write in your voice? Or I remember I heard Billy Joel talking and he was saying how he's like, I would become inspired by a singer. And so I'd write something in the vein of
that
Springsteen
person. Oh, that's cool.
or Sting. He's like, but then inevitably I'd wind up giving them the song because it made sense for
Really?
their voice and not mine.
That's cool. Well, I definitely have like recorded a song and said, I'm not right for this, and I think I should send it to so-and-so, so that's happened before. But every song, except for Baby, I got the Dream actually helped me, get on that song because we were in the studio together writing. But other than that, like they've been songs that were songs that I made for myself, and the producer either had a chance to like, play it for like the head of a label or something like that, and said, you want to see if, so and so will like it. And I'm like, yeah, fine, it's fine with me.
Right.
And if they want it, I'm like, hell yeah. There's nothing better and more gratifying than hearing your song regardless on the radio, or even hearing another singer sing your lyrics. That is so cool. Like, oh my gosh. Like, of course I can sing my own stuff and I want it to be great, but I'm like, if somebody else like channeled with your lyrics and is going to make your song a hit, I think that's awesome.
And there's rules to pop. I mean, inevitably, right? And so do you find that it's one of those things that you really win by working within those parameters? Like, or is it just a blank canvas and what works and what doesn't?
When, like, you mean when making music?
Yeah.
I think I always start with a blank canvas, but my style has always been like pop urban anyways. So I tend to like gravitate to like finding or making beats that feel like they have melody or I can attach a good melody to. I'm very melodic, so I guess I'd have to say like pop is usually like my tendency to my go-to for like writing, but I always have like an urban flair to it.
But like something like Baby for Bieber, like that song that's pop
that
on
song's
steroids.
Yeah,
You're
heck
like,
yeah.
and you never, when you're writing that song, you're never like, maybe this will be like a B on the B side. Like this isn't going to be a Bieber deep cut. You know what I mean? You're like, this is a fucking
you just don't
radio
know.
banger.
Yeah. Well, that one was definitely a radio banger. And that's, due to the dream working on that song, I knew he was going in the studio with the intention of making a song for
single.
Bieber. So, and a single. So it was like, watch this. And he's got it started. And it was like, oh, shit, that's going to play everywhere. And that's how that continued on.
And what do you think it is? Is it the top line? It's just it's a simple.
It's simple. Simplicity is great. When it comes to pop, people just they want to be happy when they listen to music. They want to be able to like memorize it or challenge themselves trying to rap. Or if it's rap, then that's a whole other story. But you want to know the lyrics. Like when it comes to music, sometimes simple is better. Sometimes, but mostly with pop, like people want to be able to sing along with it. But it's not always. It's not always the case. But it tends to work. I mean, going back to the Beatles, going back to, a lot of the earlier music that I grew up with, and this is like even before my time, it was very simple and repeated, choruses and the verses, were short and melodic and told the story and relatable. So, yeah.
What about, yeah, I mean, I was listening to John Bon Jovi the other day, and he said that they had a motto in the studio, which was, don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And he cited the Beatles, too. He's like, Can't Buy Me Love. Like, they started with the chorus.
Dude.
They knew, like, let's go to what wins here.
Yep.
Right.
Every song is different. And, you're finding that more and more as all the genres are crossing. You have different ways that people kind of, make the music. You have people that do, like 100 bars or something, something crazy like that. No, but like, it's really just about making, good content that people want to listen to. So yeah, it's funny. Sometimes that's the method, get straight to the chorus, or sometimes you got some things to say and you need 16 bars and you need another 16 bars and you need another 16 bars.
So I remember we were shooting the pilot for Grandfathered, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this. We're in the lunch line, and a guy sees you, middle-aged dude, seemed lovely. And he was like, "Oh my God, you're Christina Milian," and you were like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Look at my phone," and he pulls out his phone, and there's a quite scantily clad picture of you as his wallpaper. And I'm like,
man.
"Yo,
Yeah.
I'm sure she's flattered."
Yeah.
But like, you must get some pretty interesting. You've got quite the interesting fan base.
Yeah, I have I definitely do.
I mean, performing.
It's a variety. People surprise me all the time.
But have you had some weird moments? I mean, performing worldwide, I'm sure some dudes have come at you sideways.
Oh man.
Of course.
Well, I mean, it's never really like as far as like a fan. I mean, I've had guys be like, yeah. I mean, that's so funny. Let me think. I haven't had any crazy too weird moments, too weird of a moment. I've had some
to
people
have like security put some guys in check before. Come
I've
on.
had security
girls.
very close to me before a couple times. Where I'm like, oh, this person, popped up here and popped up there, and I'm
Someone
just
following
like,
you.
Yeah, kind of. And they're all distant places. They're not close. They're not in the same, state,
No one's ever come to your house or anything.
No. Thank you, God.
Thank God. Oh my God, my biggest
Please
fear.
don't.
If
I got cameras though,
yeah.
and I got a dog,
dogs
and a cat.
She's ready to go. Don't even try it. And what about but yeah, if you've been traveling or working,
I've mostly had all really good fan encounters. I've just that one time, to be honest with you. But I think because I think most of my moments with everybody, I give everybody their time, which is cool because it's like you're meeting somebody who's like experiencing like maybe their first time meeting a celebrity. So everybody acts different, so you got to give them credit for that. And I don't think, thank God, nothing really weird. Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I'm really trying to think. I mean,
try-
I've gotten weird mail before, things like that.
Anything
but
from
it's like-
prisons?
definitely prisons, yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
which ones?
Asking to come visit or to help, like, you know. Yeah, actually
Shout
to come
out
visit.
Robert at
Like, you
Rikers.
should come through and you should visit us.
Dave at San Quentin. Just want to send our love.
Ah. Oh my gosh.
Support prisoners.
Yeah, no, I used to get a lot of those.
A lot of
actually.
prison mail.
Yeah, a lot of prison mail.
Suspect.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was, yeah. It's pretty funny thinking about it now. But yeah, no, but everybody's always really nice. I've had people get like tattoos of me and stuff like that.
But I'm
So
sure.
I'm like, that's a big leap to, you know, put something on your body. But I'm like, that's so cool.
But for better or for worse, and be it fans or just people you work with,
Uh-huh.
when you're, I mean, and it's never been more present than it is now. Like when, you know, you're a beautiful young woman working in this business, I feel like you have to become a professional at sort of keeping men's advances at bay. Like being, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, gosh, yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, it's always, especially, I mean, before the times now that people are being more vocal
Aware.
about it.
Right.
It's definitely like, you know, oh, you know that you're like, they'll set up, you know, if you're, it's a thought in your mind when you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a meeting with the director, but it's at the, you know, at the
Chateau
restaurant
Marmont.
at the chateau, you know.
Right.
It's like, okay, you don't know what you're going to come upon because this person is a total stranger. Yes, they might have accolade in who they are, but at the same time, you're going to meet a stranger at a place that you're like, or even if it's a restaurant, it doesn't have to be the chateau or something like that. It could just be at any restaurant. You just don't know if someone's going to hit on you, and you just don't know if you're going to be taken seriously
Right.
and like what you're really there for. So in most cases, though, I mean, I must say, like, all my representation is very careful, and they always like make sure that they're looking out for me, you know, if I'm ever having like that type of a meeting. But it's always been very professional, thank God, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
But I think as a woman, you know, you do have just that, you know, slight worry. You worry about that even if you just go by yourself in an Uber, like, oh, this might be it.
Of course.
You know, so I think it's just, yeah, you never know.
Well, and it's also for me been so enlightening, and I've learned from my wife too that, you know, just being a dude walking around sort of unassuming that I can go wherever I want at any time and not think twice.
Yeah.
And my wife has sort of enlightened me to the idea of like, no, like I can be going out to a well-lit area at 4 p.m. and
Yeah.
feel in fear.
Yeah, you could just be
in some
walking. You
respect.
could just be walking. Yeah, you should. You're always like checking your surroundings and stuff. I think I was raised that way. Like I told you, I used to go to school, walking to school. So my dad put it in my mind, like just always be careful. And so
100%.
and so even like the advances and the whistling and all that stuff, it's like you kind of don't want that. You're just like, as much as it's nice to know that I look nice today, at the same time you're not really like looking
No,
for
it's
somebody to whistle or
bullshit.
scream out the window, like hey, you know, say whatever they gotta say, because it's like. I just want to, you know, it's just the, you know.
I
that's not
remember
what
I mean, besides the fact that it's completely fucking unacceptable,
Yeah.
what kills me is that guys think that like a girl's going to be like, you know,
hey, pull over.
I wasn't even thinking about meeting anyone today, but that cat call you just used, like,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, growing up in New York, like I'd see these dudes on the train like yelling at a girl, and they would literally go like this.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what? She's not a cat. Like
That is so funny.
And I'd be like, do you like that's the dope pickup line that
Yeah.
you've got going. But
Yeah.
it's completely invasive
Yeah.
and gross.
Yeah, it's definitely gross.
Makes me
Like, hey, I'm like, hey is for horses.
good for you.
Thank you. That's a good one, right?
Tell them.
Hey is for horses.
That's right. Write it down, listeners. So what's next?
What's next? Oh man. So I'm working on music again.
Yeah?
So you'll be expecting some music again from me soon. I'm doing it my way, kind of like independently, and I got some great music already. So I'm just doing like the paperwork with the producer so I can get it out.
Right.
Outside of that, I've just been doing like my pilot season, which was good. I've been like, making sure I kill my auditions and feeling good about those.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes up when it comes to that. But I focused a lot of my energy on like more behind the scene this last year and started to write with my friends.
Right.
So I have 2 girlfriends and we started writing a script, and I'm hoping to pitch it really soon so that, the control's in my hands.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
This is just a random question, and because I don't know if you ever go through this, but sometimes when I get so over it with the business and whatnot. And I think like, well, what else would I do?
Yeah.
And then I go, I'm Josh from Drake and Josh. Like, I can't sell real estate. You know, like, do you ever have that moment of like, and it's what we love and it's what we're built for.
Yeah.
But where you're like, I can't leave this even if I wanted to. Like, this is, I bought into this and I've given it too much time.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I definitely don't box myself in because I'm like, anything, you have potential to do anything and regardless. You know, I definitely also wouldn't not do anything if it meant that I had to provide for my family because it looks a certain way and it's the celebrity. I'm like, no, providing is providing, you know, at the end of the day. So, but at the end of the day, you're right. It is difficult to just say you're just going to go jump into, I mean, real estate's one thing. I would buy a house from the guy from Drake and Josh. I would buy the house from you, actually. So don't count real estate off.
And it's not me saying that I'm like too famous for that in any way. It's more for me being like, how many times am I going to be trying to sell a house? And for people to be like, wait, hold on.
Hey, I would use that as my,
and then people,
that's me. That's right. Yes. Wait, are you about to say, say it?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Like if I'm trying to sell like a 2-bedroom apartment in North Hollywood and they're like, hug me, brother, I'd be like, I'm going to kill myself.
That's true.
Yeah. It would be a little tough. It'd be a little tough.
It could be tough, yeah. But I'm in this for life. I don't think that I've ever had any other thought outside of doing what I do, but I've just only thought about adding to it. And it's not necessarily always having to be in front of the camera.
Right.
But it's not always about, I don't know. There's other things in what we do that open up avenues for us to have like careers or, even like, let's just say me, for example, as a singer, if I wanted to, I've thought about it where I've been like, what would it look like if I decided to someday be an A&R or something at a record label? Would they want me to even be there because I am who I am? Things like that. I've thought about that. And I used to say I wanted, someday I want to, work at a record label. But now my thought has changed about that. But maybe later I would want to. But I mean, at least to me, it's part of what I do. And I want to do it because, I know I feel like I could find the potential artist and make an album and all that stuff. But yeah, I haven't really thought of too many things that are outside of what I do.
Right.
I do things outside of what I do, but I mean, it's technically kind of still surrounded with who I am.
We're in.
Yeah.
You and I were built in. That's it. This
We're
is the
built
life.
in, yeah.
We're lifers.
Yeah, I'm definitely in it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
Bye. All right. That's it. Christina Milian. She's just a gem. Big fan. Huge fan. Christina Milian. Wonderful. Best. Everyone else sad. That's my terrible Trump impression. But she's really dope. And I'll always remember going to a Halloween party with her and my wife and her best friend Lauren, and we had a great time. And then we proceeded to go to the closest food truck and crush an inhuman amount of pizza. And it was as if we were going for a record for the most cheese and sauce and bread consumed by a group of 4 people. And I would say if there was someone official there keeping track, that we might have set a record. But who knows? Anyway,